After losing a tough battle last week to Gentleman Thomas and his Necrozma, we come up this week against OG Albina in the BBR. Going to be a really tough matchup this week, and I want to make sure I don't go 0-3 to put myself in too big of a hole when trying to make playoffs in the second half of the season. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm on my road to 1,000 subscribers this year. I would really appreciate it if you could help me get there. So let's talk about the matchup. Owen has a lot of really powerful Pokemon. A few of the ones that stick out here are Deoxys Speed, with that 180 speed stat forces a lot of narrow prep to play around it. Iron Hands is also a very powerful Pokemon in this matchup. I don't have a lot of direct ways to counter that Pokemon. I'm going to have to rely on some chip damage throughout the game and some Pokemon like Skeledirge and Okidogi to deal a lot of damage. Crocodile, though, is probably the best Pokemon in the matchup. My only ground resists are Iron Jugulis, which can't switch in regularly to Crocodile, and Bronzong, which gets knocked off every time it comes in. So that Pokemon is going to be really difficult for me to manage, and I'm probably going to have to use a lure to get that Pokemon out this week. Looking from my side of the matchup, there's a lot of Pokemon I have that do a lot of damage here. Iron Jugulis, especially the Choice Spec set we're running this week, does a lot of damage to his team, and he does not have a lot of good defensive counterplay. The same can be said for Skeledirge. He does not have a lot of good switch-ins to Skeledirge either, especially in the long term. Stuff like Iron Hands can switch in, but I'm going to probably have the Will-O-Wisp pack this week to make sure that Pokemon gets neutralized in the mid-game. Otherwise, I think the top 3 Pokemon on my team look pretty powerful as well. Jet Punch priority is going to be very useful. Meowscarada is going to have some good utility, and Raging Bolt is always just a powerful Pokemon. So enough talking about the matchup, and let's get right into the team. Palafin is the first Pokemon on the team this week, and for good reason. It is one of the best Pokemon in draft, and it is certainly no different here. This set is a little bit low on utility. This week we have Bulk Up, Flip Turn, Jet Punch, then Headbutt. The 2 primary moves on this set this week are going to be Flip Turn and Jet Punch. This Pokemon's role is going to be to Jet Punch down threats like the Crocodile, like the Enamorus, and the Deoxys Speed. We do a Bulk Up, set Headbutt. Our speed tier is Jolly 200, which allows us to outspeed Crocodile, but also has some extra speed for Tentacruels that are targeting that speed tier to outspeed my Palafin. Allows me to use Zen Headbutt to break past that Pokemon in the late game if we need to, but primarily this Pokemon's job is to use Jet Punch to clean out my opponent's team after the rest of my team does all the damage. Meowscarada this week is going to be a Spikes attacker once again as a heavy duty boots set. We have 152 Jolly speed to make sure we outspeed all Azelf sets, and then we have 84 special defense to live any timid Life Orb Ice Beam from Deoxys Speed. Leaf Seed is a one move that's out of place here a little bit on this set, and that's going to be utilized to take advantage of something like the Klefki, which might be switching in regularly to this Pokemon. This allows me to get in Pokemon like Okidogi, like Skeledirge, and Raging Bolt, while preserving some of their 2-hit KO calcs and 3-hit KO calcs on the defensive side. Knockoff and Flower Trick are just good coverage moves to cover out the rest of the set, and then Spikes allows me to set up entry hazards in the early game. Raging Bolt the Assault Vest allows me to be a common switch into Deoxys Speed in this matchup, which is super useful. The EV spread this week also allows me to live Adamant, Earthquake, or Jolly +1 Earthquake from Crocodile, getting with the Draco Meteor afterwards. This is not a common type of lure I want to take advantage of because it'll basically remove my Deoxys Speed check for the rest of the game, but certainly one I have to take if the option arises. This set, we do get to run Discharge this week. We aren't going to be dealing a lot of damage outside of Draco Meteor, so Discharge allows us to get some Paralyzes out there while keeping Volt Switch, Thunderclap, and Draco for common coverage. We have Sugarberry Okidogi here as a way to counter the Crocodile. This is going to be our common lure in this matchup and my preferred way to lure that Pokemon. Close combat required to actually get the KO on most Crocodile sets, and then Gunk Shot, High Horsepower Knockoff for general coverage around the team. I am Jolly 84 speed this week to outspeed Min Speed Shaman. That'll allow me to get a big Gunk Shot off on that Pokemon to open up the end game for my Palafin. But otherwise, this Pokemon is there primarily to lure the Crocodile and then deal some damage on the way out with high horsepower against something like Iron Hands. Skeledirge is going to be my dedicated lead in this matchup, which seems a little counterintuitive considering Crocodile is such a good lead coming from Owen's side. The reason that I'm going to lead this Pokemon is I think Palafin and Meowscarada are my 2 most obvious leads in this matchup. I think it's really difficult for him to lead Crocodile against those 2 Pokemon. Very split up set this week is another way to counteract something like Enamorus and the Deoxys Speed, and then the rest of our set here we have Torch Song and Earth Power pretty much to give all the coverage we need in this matchup. Will-O-Wisp allows me to be the big lead though that I needed to be, as Iron Hand's lead is super problematic for me to manage. And Choice Specs Iron Jugulus is the last Pokemon here on the team sheet. No dark coverage this week, as double flying coverage will cover pretty much everything with the Earth Power. The double flying coverage gives me a little bit more accurate move in the end game if I've got all the prerequisite damage. And then Earth Power allows me to blow past things like the Tentacruel and the Iron Hands. U-Turn allows me to get some momentum if I have to bring this in the early game and need to force pressure on his team. So that is the team. Let me know what you think of the team in the comments down below, and let's get right into the battle. All right, let's think about this lead. So a lot of the leads, essentially the two problematic leads in this matchup from Owen's side is he can lead with Iron Hands or he could lead with Crocodile. Crocodile is a lot more difficult to lead with in this spot, particularly because I have the Palafin and the Meowscarada, which are good leads. Meowscarada can actually lead well into the Deoxys, depending on my set. So I think he's probably going to lead with the Iron Hands, and I want to get Willow off on that as soon as possible. Basically just get a turn 1 Willow. That's my most productive turn. If he leads with Crocodile, then I'm really on the back foot early, and it's going to be difficult to play around that. I'm probably going to have to sack some damage on Meowscarada early if that's kind of the result of this turn 1 lead. So good luck to Owen. This is going to be a really big game. I haven't actually beaten him yet, which makes me, makes the stakes a little higher for me, at least personally, because that not beating people gives me a little bit of a sour taste. Feels like I could be doing better, but let's see. He does lead with Crocodile, which is really, really bad. That's kind of like the absolute worst case scenario in this spot. He's Intimidate as well, so that actually really changes a lot in terms of this prep. The fact that he's Intimidate. So that means he's probably a Rocks lead. Now he doesn't probably kill, if he's Jolly, he doesn't kill any of my sets here. And I can get a Willow off early. Willow would be really nice here. Now, if I look at his team and what I need this Pokemon for, I really want it for the Shaman and the Klefki. This Pokemon is really, really good here. So I think what I have to do is just get aggressive. He's probably going to knock here, if I had to guess. I can just get aggressive and go into the Meowscarada here. He could close combat. I think that would be, not really a viable play on this turn. And he's just going to get up his Stealth Rocks, which is kind of to be expected. So Rocks are going to be pretty good here, but this is not Choice Scarf Moxie, which was one of basically the best sets into this matchup for my team. At least in my personal opinion, what I thought. Now, what I can do here is I've got a few options. So Knockoff is obviously very, very good. I can set up the Leech Seed, and what Leech Seed also does is it allows me to get around my team a little more. He could go into something like the Shaman. I don't think that's very likely. And I don't think Close Combat actually does anything. I'm kind of all over the place here already. He has Gunk Shot, which can actually deal a lot, but the Flower Trick does kill here, depending on the set. So, I guess I'm just going to knock off. I don't see a world in where he necessarily stays in. And I do lose the dark typing anyway. So if he does have Gunk Shot, then... so he's Focus Sash for Lure, and he's Counter. Okay. Wow. That is actually good for me, that I kind of played around that. So he was using that to lure the Meowscarada. Now, I have taken a lot of damage on this thing, which is kind of unfortunate. But I've gotten around one of his lures kind of accidentally. That was obviously not... exactly how I was expecting this to go. But that leads me to believe he's definitely going to die here to the Flower Trick. And the question is does he want to play around that, or is he just content to lose this? I'm going to have to assume he probably has Knockoff and Earthquake, so I can actually probably Leech Seed here. Though I'm just going to Flower Trick. I think I just want to pick this off if he does give me the opportunity to, and he does not. So... Flower Trick is going to be pretty good on pretty much all of the non-Shaman answers. He goes into Klefki, which is kind of decent. Would have liked to have knocked off or get a Leech Seed off on that. That's obviously kind of my game plan around this Pokemon, is to try to get Leech Seeds off here. I mean, at this point, I don't really have another play here. My play is always to go into Skeledirge. This is the game plan that we've devised. It's not really worth deviating from that plan, just focusing in on what we built the team to do. If I get T-Wave, that's going to be a little bit frustrating. He's going to Hazard Stack here. It's funnily enough, I am, obviously, a player who likes to use heavy duty boots a lot. So that's not going to be the most effective use of a turn here for him. Now, the question here is, what do I want to click? I have a lot of decent clicks here. Torch Song is primarily the best click, I think, here. He can go into something like the Crocodile, but we know that Crocodile set is not as threatening at Good Willow, but that might not protect against something like maybe an aggressive Gengar switch here is a possibility. I really just need to get chip on this, and if he somehow gives me this trying to overpredict and overplay my hand, then I'm going to take that all day long. Obviously, the switch was kind of to be expected, but, you know, as I said, I'm kind of trying to let him overplay a little bit if that opportunity arises, and he brings out the Crocodile. I do get a little bit of a Torch Song off. This will do a decent amount of damage, and that puts it probably in range. That'll put it in range of any hit from the Iron Jugulus, which is important. And now I have to decide if I need HP on this. Last time I went aggressively into this Pokemon. And this Earthquake is doing a lot of damage. It's very... That did, yeah, about as much as I expected. I kind of expect the knockoff or the Earthquake to come out here. I don't really see another move that he can click in this spot. Meowscarada should be able to live this. Either of those moves actually takes... There's actually a decent chance that it doesn't here. But if I sack it off, I can get him my Palafin, which is nice. And he has to basically be max attack to do that, and considering he was a counter set, there might be a likelihood that he's not. So with the heavy duty boots, I'm going to be able to not get Hazard up here, and he's just going to click knockoff, and I do live. Okay, so I did, let's see if that's like a low roll or not. So there's a possibility that that's a low roll there, so that's pretty decent for me. Now the question here is, how do I want to play this next turn? No item. Let me see, no item. So no item is probably not killing. I can knock off to protect against this switch. Now this Pokemon can't come back in, is the problem. So I kind of just have to figure out how I want to get the last little bit of value. I'm just going to knock off just in case he goes into Klefki, and I do get a switch here predicted, which is super awesome. And it looks like he is going back into that Klefki, so I'm going to be able to pull out a knockoff here. Get that item off of that Pokemon. That could be potential likely gone. That does a lot of damage. And I get a crit. Okay, that's why. That makes a lot of sense. And it's Rocky Helmet. Okay, so we know that it's Rocky, and the Rocky's gone. Well, that was an unbelievably great voice crack there. But now the Rocky Helmet's gone, and now he does not have... We've kind of gotten a lot of value out of this Meowscarada, and we've broken down the Klefki, so that's really crucial because that means that Choice Specs Iron Jugulus has a lot of viability in the end game. I don't get the chance to make Baby Finn. I think I'm going to take this chance to get Palafin into the big form because he could probably just set up another layer of hazards here, to be honest, and I can just go straight into Skeledirge. So I just want to take this as an opportunity. Let's get my guy into hero form here. It can probably just predict this and go Crocodile. But at this point, I'm kind of content if that happens. I just need to get this into the form, to the good form, and then we can start doing a lot of damage with the Jugulus as he just goes for the T-Wave. That's fine. This Pokemon getting T-Waved is kind of inconsequential to this matchup. The speed is not really important, and we're just putting pressure with Torch Song for the most part. Obviously, we can get Flint, we can get Parrot here, which would suck, but I think the likely play is he's going to switch out into something like a Deoxys, or he's just going to hazard up. Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, without Rocky Helmet, that kind of makes sense. And I get the Torch Song off, so I'm going to pick up the Klefki. So Skeledirge kills Klefki, and that opens up a huge opportunity for my Choice Specs Iron Jugulus. That is one of the biggest threats to that Pokemon just gone. And now in comes Crocodile. Crocodile always comes in and gets a lot of value here. It is a big issue, and I think I really need this. Do I actually need this for Iron Hands now? That was kind of the plan that I had off lead to deal with that. I can bring in Palafin after. Palafin is designed to outspeed this Pokemon, so at the worst I can just come in and flip turn off of this. But I really need it for Shaman still, yeah. It will have the health to potentially deal with that. Question is does he knock or Earthquake? He probably just knocks, which actually gives me a better chance against Shaman. So I'm just going to Torch Song again. Yeah, he's going to knock. I should be able to live that comfortably. That does a lot of damage. That might be adamant. And actually, after the knock, this Pokemon is actually going to... I forgot, yeah. So after the knock, he is going to die as well. The Hazard's coming back in. But we've taken down Crocodile and Klefki, which are two of the big Pokemon in the way of this Iron Jugulus, which is pretty crucial. And Palafin is also looking pretty nice here in this endgame as well. A lot of things going, I think, well for me right now. Now, that's not to say that this game is over. I've had a lot of games where I've lost kind of in the endgame. In comes the Dio Speed, which this Pokemon is just a problem. And I think he has to use this as an opportunity to just kill me. I don't think he wants to take a Torch Song at +2 to the Dome. And at this point, I can just sack this Pokemon. There's no real reason for me to keep it around. And now the question comes here. So we get to see the set. Is this Life Orb? No Life Orb. Okay, good to know. It could be something like a nasty set. So we want to get about a 45% because that's going to put it in decent range. We're actually in Draco range of like everything here. I can bring in my Raging Bolt, drop a Draco. I can bring in my Iron Jugulus. Iron Jugulus Hurricane does like a metric ton to like his entire team here. Like he has no switch in for this Hurricane, and he could stay in, but I really don't think he's going to. Though I do think the safer play is just to go into my Assault Vested Raging Bolt. Now I am kind of at a precarious, HP total here after kind of all is said and done. But no Life Orb makes me a little bit more confident in this play. Between Psycho Boost and Ice Beam, they're certainly not doing enough at this point. And this Draco Meteor is going to do a boatload of damage. So I think my play here is just going to be to Volt Switch. As I said, even if I just get this Volt Switch off, that's enough of the requisite damage I need against this Deoxys Speed to likely clutch out this game. And he is going to switch out. And in comes big Iron Hands. Really want to see what type of damage we get on this Iron Hands. That's going to tell me a lot about what we're dealing with here. That Volt Switch, it might be leading me to believe we're dealing with in the way that he brought in maybe Assault Vested. I kind of want to bring in my Ogie Dogie here. I know I can live basically any hit. I can throw up a high horsepower. I can get a knockoff going. Knockoff does actually open up some potential calcs. I'm getting to the point now where I need to rely on Iron Jugulus to kind of get me through this game, and then Palafin as well. So I need to kind of think about that. I think I have to go Ogie Dogie here. I think it's my safest play to deal kind of the most amount of damage, or I can get a knockoff and kind of put pressure. He could have something like Earthquake. That's very much a possibility here. But I'm taking these with the Shukaberry. And I actually don't have a lot of use for this Shukaberry anymore. So what I'm going to do is knock off first because of my Shukaberry. Protects against potential switches. And it knocks off a potential Assault Vest that this Pokemon could have. That could be very useful in the end game. And there we go. That's really, really huge. Earthquake, Shukaberry. I take a decent amount of damage, but that's perfectly fine. We're getting this into range of Hurricane as well. So Hurricane endgame is actually looking really wide open here. If I get a high horsepower here, then I think we should be in a good spot. Let's see how much damage this does. Yeah, that puts it even in Air Slash range, which is huge. So we use Ogie Dogie really effectively here to get some of the requisite damage we need off on this. And now I think it's time to think about Iron Jugulus, but not actually go into it yet. So if I bring it in once, the Ice Beam does actually revenge it. My Iron Jugulus does actually get revenged here. But it does actually get Ice Beamed, which is really, really unfortunate. I almost thought I lagged out there, which would have been really annoying. I could bring out this guy again, but I think it's time to just bring out Jugulus. And let's just click a Hurricane button. We've opened this up pretty decently for me, and then we do still have... We can keep this Pokemon around. I think he's probably going to have to give me this. I don't see another option for him here. He could switch into something like... He can't switch into Shaman, certainly. That would just be a losing play. So I'm just going to Earth Power here. Protect against a miss, which is kind of all that matters at this point. as I protect against those unfortunate misses. Or do I have to Hurricane to protect against Shaman coming in next? Because I do have bulk up. I think I'm kind of out of time here in terms of how I can play this. I'm just going to Hurricane. Hurricane might miss here. You've got to be fucking kidding me, man. I should have Earth Powered, I think. If I freeze here, that would be so troll. Okay, well, I guess I Hurricane again. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I should have Earth Powered, but my concern was if he sees that I'm Specs and brings in Shaman, then I'm in a pretty bad spot. I think that's just another, attention to detail moment there that I should be playing around something like that. Maybe he switches out here, but at least I picked this up with the Hurricane. So that's just really, really unfortunate and kind of not what I was looking for at all. And now I'm in like a really bad spot that I really need this. I'm going to have to sack this to Dio Speed. This is going to be Gengar. I kind of have to sack this now because of the rocks. There's not much I can do. We'll see what he wants to do as a response. He's just going to Sludge Wave. That's fine. And I think I probably lose this game now at this point. If I Earth Power, then maybe I have a chance to go on my Assault Vest here and play around it. But yeah, that's just kind of how the game goes. I think I just didn't effectively leverage. I should have Earth Powered. I guess if I hit Hurricane, that's fine, but I kind of need to protect against that Shaman in the back. But we're likely going to end up going 0-3 to start the season, which is, it's not great. I would like to have done much better, but alas, that's a position we find ourselves in. Wow, the Throat Spray Boom Burst set might have actually been really good in this end game, unfortunately. But we'll bring out the Raging Bolt. And I could Thunderclap here. I mean, I'm just going to drop a Draco. I don't really have anything else to do. I'm not going to make this a complicated turn. Sludge Wave, I should have a decent chance to live this with the Assault Vest. I do. And we drop a Draco, so Raging Bolt should kill this. Yeah, that's a crit. I mean, the crit should not matter in the slightest, but we'll see now what he elects to do. If he brings out the Shaman, then that is interesting. I do have the chance to like crit that, and then I'm still in the game with Zen Headbutt Flinch, because then I can double Jet Punch the Deoxys Speed. So I guess I do have an out still here. Though if I still had obviously the, I guess I technically probably don't have an out even if I hit that Hurricane. Probably. No, but I probably live the Ice Punch. In comes Gojo, which is the DOS. So he is gonna to kind of play around that a little bit. So I think my play here is, so how do I play this to the most effective out? Let me calc versus Shaman. Yeah, I have to hit a lot of crits here. I mean, I'm just gonna Thunderclap. That gives me the best chance at getting differential in this spot, and he is just gonna probably Nasty Plot here. He is gonna Nasty Plot. Okay, that's fine. Once again, the differential is kind of all that matters here. So he's probably gonna attack. Do I have to? He knows I have 4. Do I just, discharge just to maybe para this guy? He's going to get me with the Ice Beam. Alright, that's fine. That's an unfortunate game to lose that one. I mean, I think this matchup was difficult in a lot of ways to play around a lot of what he was offering in this matchup, unfortunately. So, I mean, I don't think I have any chance of living a +2 Psycho Boost from this thing. I guess we do have a potential to, do. I mean, I'm just going to Jet Punch twice. There's not really, I don't really have anything else that I can do about this. Yeah, and even then, it's not gonna matter in the slightest because this is probably just gonna kill. Yeah, unfortunate. 0-3 in BBR. Really, really disappointing start because I think my team is good and I think I played decently the first couple of weeks, but this was just a tough matchup to play around. Crocodile was problematic, and I kind of had to give him something at some point to beat that, and in the end, missing the Hurricane probably didn't matter. I might have been able to kill Gengar without expending my Raging Bolt, potentially, but then that would have left Shaman and Deoxys Speed kind of endgame, which would have been difficult to play around anyway with my team. So, unfortunate 0-3, but I do think that, there's still an opportunity to go 5-0 to end the season. And I'm still feeling confident that with more attention to detail that we'll get there. So that's all for today. I'll see you next time. And as always, have a wonderful day.